Good morning, my superstars. Good morning, my rock stars. Good morning, legends. I don't think we're going to have a problem today with a humping puppy. He looks pretty chill. For those of you who joined in last week, Bailey went pretty hard for the entire session, humping the couch and the pillows and possibly the back of my head. But this week he looks pretty calm. Good morning to everyone joining in. Good morning to Evie. Good morning to, who has said hello to me on Instagram? Diary of Plants. Good morning to my beautiful, beautiful cat Pola. To Daniel Bernardo, to my smoochie, I see you to you. Good morning to Ashley, to that boy, to everyone joining in. It's awesome to have you here. Welcome to Sunday Morning Live Meds and live Q&A. So what we're doing moving forward is chat followed by a meditation and then a live Q&A. If you've got any questions that you want to ask me, either based on what we have discussed today or anything in general. Good morning to you, Jenny Brady, and to Olivia Toms. Just want to say, this plant kind of copying my hairstyle today. Hey, can you see the resemblance? I'm going to need to chat to this plant today and say, mate, get your own fucking stylist. You know, we can't have two. We can't have two of us in the house. But yeah, pretty sure it stole my fucking look today. We're going to have a chat later, mate. I actually just noticed it when I sat down and I was looking at that plant. I'm like, fuck, my hair looks like that plant. Actually, that plant looks like my hair. Oh, fucking hell. Anyway, I hope you're ace. What I want to talk to you about today, and many of you may have heard about this before, many of you may not. I want to talk to you today about the inner child. This inner child work I have done on myself for many years. And I really started looking into inner child work when I was doing the chakra empowerment journey, when I was an attendee of that course, and then when I was a facilitator of that course. And what really spoke to me when I learned about this, I realized how much of my self-expression, my freedom of self, my playfulness, my cheekiness, my lightness, my creativity, my honoring of honoring pleasure, I had shut away. I had locked away. And on a very personal level, I went, when I was discovering about the inner child, I also realized how much I had been blocking pleasure out of sex. I never saw sex as pleasurable. I just saw it as like, you know, you do that. I found it very difficult to receive pleasure, to make pleasure about me, because it had brought up a lot of stuff about my past, being abused as a little kid. So when I started to do inner child work, it was really fucking emotional. It was really emotional, and I didn't realize how much, as I said, I had blocked it out. I hadn't looked at the cues and the signs. And some of the signs when our inner child is abandoned, it doesn't even exist in our life, is when our life is pretty, you know, same, day in, day out, pretty boring, or just the same, you know, routine, strict, stringent. You can be uptight. You can block out pleasure, whether that's pleasure sexually, whether that is doing more of the things that you love and you find joy in. Blocking out, or when you've got, I guess, a disconnect with your inner child, you have a difficult relationship with yourself. You find yourself feeling lonely in your own company, find it difficult to be in your own company, can have difficulties with other relationships, relating to other people. And many other things too, blocking out your creativity, thinking that you're not creative. So the reason why I want to bring this up is I'm always checking in with my inner child to see where she's at. Obviously, the inner child is an imaginary thing. It's an invisible thing, I should say. It's an energetic part of us. Now, when you were a child, you may have not enjoyed your childhood. You may not have liked your childhood. But when we talk about the inner child, we talk about it in an energetic form, and its pure form. That fun, free, cheeky, expressive, freedom to be self, looking at things and going, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. Like looking at all the pleasures in life and not that this can smell, but, smelling the roses or being excited by life, that inner child has this innocence, lightness, playfulness. And it sees life in a really beautiful, innocent way. Now, of course, when we get older, we can start to view the world through jaded eyes. We can look at ourselves through limited eyes. We can look at others through skewed eyes. And so our view of the world, others, and ourselves become constricted. And so that's when we start to block out joy. We block out pleasure. We block out our freedom of expression because maybe along the way we were told we were too much. We were told we were too loud. We were told we were too opinionated. We were told you were too whatever. Told to whatever. And so you begin to block that out. And what that contributes to, and I see this with a lot of my coaching clients, what that contributes to is a loss of self. A loss of self, a loss of fun, a loss of playfulness, and people become very serious. Like adulting hardcore. And they leave their freedom of expression and their cheekiness and their all-encompassing, beautiful, sensual, magnificent self. And this is for masculine and feminine. This is for male and female as well. You leave it at the door. So when you go to work or when you see your friends or when you go on dates, you're like, sorry, you can't come. I have to lock out my funness. The reason why I talk like that, where I can add in my ad lib and my little voices and be cheeky, is because I've got my little inner child with me. Because life's fucking not fun when I lock her away. I locked her away for a really long time, and I locked her away because I blamed her for being so cute and so sweet and so trusting and so cheeky. I blamed her for the reason why we got abused or I got abused. Now that's pretty fucked up, but for a long time I blamed that part of myself, so I locked it away. I didn't want it to be there. Until, as I said, I started doing this work on myself and delving internally, and I just thought, fuck man, why am I not having fun? Why is life such a drag? And don't get me wrong, fucking life's tough, right? It is. Life is tough. But it's tougher. We can make it tougher when we lock this side of us away. And it's like we lock our little inner child up in an attic and just go, mate, you fucking stay there. I don't know when I'm going to bring you back out. I don't know if I can bring you back out. And as I said, this is when we go to work and we put on this persona. We go to a date, put on this. We go to that, put on this, because again, we've got these things going on in our head that we're too much, that we're too this and that we're too that. And that the world won't like that, or others won't like that. I won't be accepted for that. And this is where we start to block out our inner child. And what I say to people who come and talk to me for coaching and see me for coaching, I would say, well, if you had a little kid that came up to you and said, should I go and lock myself away for a long time because I'm too much and I'm too this, I'm too that? If you had a son or a daughter who said that, you'd say, fuck no. You own yourself. You be yourself. You express yourself, obviously with respect and with ensuring that you're not going to hurt yourself or another. We can do things also within boundaries, right? The work of the inner child is also understanding where boundaries are. So there's so many elements to this inner child, but the one that I really want to talk about today is how you can reconnect back to it. And there are some really beautiful questions that you can ask, self-inquiry questions that we'll take into meditation today. So questions like, I would ask my inner child, and I might do it through a writing exercise, or I can just do it in my mind, an imaginary process. Questions that I will ask: what am I doing in my life right now where I'm not including you? What am I doing in my life right now where I'm not including you or involving you? How am I speaking about myself that really upsets you, that hurts you? And what this does is it brings everything back in. You start to look within. It opens you up to seeing things differently, to doing things differently, to speaking to yourself differently. Because I had a client recently who emailed me and she just said, I don't think that I can do this. I think that I'm too fucked up. I'm too far gone. There's no hope for me. There's no change. I think I just have to accept that I'm just fucked up. To which I replied via a video and said to her, imagine if this was your son or daughter coming up to you to say that. What would you say in return? Would you say, fuck yeah, just stick with your head, believe you're fucked up, go for it? You know, you're too messed up, you can't change, you're unchangeable. Would you say that to your son and daughter? And I proposed those questions to her, posed, to which she replied, holy fucking shit, I never thought of it that way. And this is the power of the inner child work, where you can imagine that you have a child. Maybe you do have children and you can imagine it's one of them coming up to you. But what you're also doing at the same time is you're healing your own relationship with your inner child. You reconnect back to yourself. You develop a stronger relationship with yourself. And that's the power of inner child work. And as I said, there's many more dimensions to that. But if you are in your life right now and you feel like a stiff, you got like a fucking stick up your ass. If you feel, stagnant, if you feel bored, if you feel like, oh, I don't really like my own company, I can't stand my own company, and so you're always looking for outward ways to make yourself feel better, whether that's through people or substances, whatever it may be. If you feel like you're wanting more joy and spark and oomph or more self-expression, the way you can do that is by coming back and reconnecting to your inner child. And there are many ways you can do it. So for those of you who are interested, please feel free to reach out to me after this and I can share some things with you. I'll share some things with you throughout the meditation anyway. So this is a tool that I will always come back to when I can see myself being too strict or too tight ass or uptight when the girls are here. When I'm at work and, I'm doing emails and I'm like sitting there like a fucking negative Nancy. I'm like, all right, cool. If I brought in my little inner child right now, what would she do? How would she make this fucking, she'd fucking pump some tunes. So off we go, we put our little headphones in and we pump some tunes, and then I'm like sitting there and I'm grooving away, and then bam, you got energy, you got spark, you got spunk, you got movement. The stagnancy starts to go away, it begins to lift. If you're there on your couch, or if I'm there on my couch, I'm very cool with my own company now, whereas before I wasn't. But if you're there on your couch and you're like, fuck, I'm lonely. If you invited your little inner child into that moment and said, what would you do right now? What would you do right now? What would you say to me right now if you were here? And just listen, right? You play this imaginary game. This is what I have done my entire life, and fuck me, it's served me pretty damn well. And the people who I share this with, my clients who I share this with. And you begin this inner dialogue. You develop a far closer relationship with yourself, and you're more in with yourself. You know yourself. So that's why whenever I'm like super serious, I'm like, do I need to be like this right now? Do I need to be like this? No, I don't. There's another way. I can bring joy into this. I can bring spark and spunk and light and joy. Where's my little fucking kid? Where's my little inner child? Bring her in. Before you go out on a date or before you go to work, if you've been so stiff and uptight and in your head, bring that little inner child in and go, fucking, if you were going to this, if you were going to like school today or whatever today, how would you show up? You know, if I had dating, if I could date all over again, I would bring this, you know, but before I would leave these parts of myself away because I didn't want to be judged. I didn't want to be rejected. So I just hid her, left her at home. She's sitting there at the window going, why didn't you fucking take me with you? It'd be so much more fun if you did. So, anywho, my point today is there's a relationship that you can begin to develop within yourself. And there are many relationships you can actually develop with yourself through the chakra system. But the one I want to focus on today is the inner child, because it is a deeply healing process. And there are many more facets to it. But let's just begin with connecting in to that part of yourself today. So let's take this into meditation. Let's take some inner child work into meditation today. And then afterwards, you can ask me any questions, live Q&A after this. But for now, get yourselves into a nice, comfy meditation position. Just going to turn the music up. Dum, 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 dum. Dum, dum. Get yourselves nice and comfy, and then where you can, just close down your eyes. Take some nice, big deep breaths in and out. Nice deep breaths in and out. And just notice any sounds you can hear, or the sounds that you can hear. Any smells you can smell. Tastes that you can taste. And just sensing into the energy of the space you're in, or the temperature of the space you're in, just sensing into that. And wherever you are, if you're sitting down or lying down, I want you to imagine that your inner child is sitting or lying there right next to you, snuggled into you. Maybe it's you when you're 4 or 5 or 6. But really imagine that he or she is there. Even go into detail of what they're wearing, the color of their hair. Noticing any freckles on their face. And as they're there next to you, you really can feel their innocence. You can feel their openness. And their desire to be with you through life. And maybe it's been a while since you've reconnected to your inner child. Maybe this is the first time you've met. And so if there are emotions there, let them be there. If there are tears there, let them be there. That reunion and reconnection is really special. And something in you knows that this sweet little child has so much to offer you, so much to teach you. Answers to share with you. And you turn to your little inner child. And you ask them, what can you share with me? What do you have to share with me? What wisdom is inside your little heart that you would love to share with me? And just listen. Often what they have to say is really simple, but they know how to spark joy, lightness, creativity, even freedom. And you also ask that little child, what's something I can do every day to remember you? To connect with you? What's something I can do every day to remember you and connect to you? Imagine giving your little inner child a great big squeeze. Either squeezing them tight, giving them a hug, or squeezing their hand, pinching their little cheeks. Even rubbing noses against one another. And make a promise to him or her that you will do your darndest, you will do your best to remember and to connect with them every day. Moment to moment, when you recognize, shit, I've forgotten them. And then mentally release them, let them go out and play. Imagine them going off laughing and playing. And now you have a little more wisdom, a little more truth, a little more gold to work into your life. Take some nice deep breaths in and out. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes. One of my healers a long time ago said to me, if you had a kid, would you just check in on them every now and then? You know, would you go about your work day and just leave your kid inside their room all day and not bring them out, not let the light in, not feed them, not listen to them? I was like, fucking no. And she turned around to me and said, well, that's how you got to see your inner child. If you want to develop a relationship with yourself that is just so epic and beautiful and precious and intimate, which then will only that will then create deeper relationships with others, with life, with your friends, with your lover. If you want to do that, if you do that for you, everything on the outside will take care of itself. And it did. It definitely did. So, peoples and your inner childs, do you have questions for me? If you have questions for me, feel free to comment now. We'll do a live Q&A. You can ask me anything about this, anything about anything else. You can make just a comment, what even came up for you. A Drop of Kate said, that was so good, and the Lion King music at the start made me and my inner child smile. Yeah. Some of my music I've got from Finding Nemo, you know, and immediately my me and my little kid is like, yeah, so good. Little Nemo. You know, when I was doing that meditation myself, what came up? that when I dance, me dancing every day, that's when my little kid is there. When I've got music going on and I'm grooving, that's when my little inner child is there. One way that my inner child said for me to remember her each day is to honor what is good for me. At the moment, what is good for me is to just chill a little and relax and take some pressure off yourself, just enjoy some space. My ego's finding that really hard, but I know my little inner child is like, just fucking give me a break, please. So that's what I got in my meditation. Anyway, are there questions? Actually, something that I want to suggest, a suggestion that I have, my photo is downstairs. I have a photo of me when I was in prep, so I was in grade 6. And I have a photo of me downstairs next to my laptop, and she's very fucking cute. And I will do a daily chat to her. I look at her, I've got music that is inner child music, so it's really sweet and emotive. And I will sit there and I'll look at her, and sometimes I'll verbally say it if no one's around, or I'll mentally say it, and I'll look at her and I'll just say, man, you're so amazing. You're this beautiful, gorgeous little child, and I want to honor you. I want to hear you. I want to, respect you. So talk to me. Tell me, what's something that you would love to see more in my life? What's something that I can do that is less harmful to us? Am I speaking in certain ways that are upsetting you? So, I do that every day, and it's a really beautiful way for me to connect to her, which is connecting to myself, right? Connecting to myself. So that's a really nice thing that you can do. Thanks, Kat. In the beginning, all I could feel was my inner child was wounded. It took a while to gain a real shift in connection to childlike aspects of her. Is this common? Yes, absolutely. Particularly if you have had a painful experience. Now, there are some times in my past, I remember when I was lying in the bath one night, and I had this is when I was single and living alone. I had music playing, and I laid in the bath, and I was imagining my inner child. And when I saw her, I just felt all the pain that she had experienced as a little girl. And I remember I laid in the bath and I howled, crying. And I was howling because I just felt so sorry for her. And I felt sad for her. And in that moment, I just wanted to honor that sadness for her. I wanted to allow myself to feel that for her and let her know, you know what, I'm sorry for what you endured. I'm sorry for the pain that you went through. And I'm also sorry that I locked you away for such a long time. So absolutely this is normal, particularly if this is not a common thing for you to connect back into. If this is the first time, or if only it's a few times, you will feel the woundedness of your inner child, but doing this work will heal that. Doing the work will heal that. I hope that answers your question. Christine, a beautiful meditation. Interesting. My inner child was so serious with a little Buddha smile. It's almost like as an adult, I am less serious. So we are able to help each other, connected. Well, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I love that. A serious little Buddha. Justine, thanks, Kat. I found it so emotional, all the tears. Yeah, absolutely. It is. And you know what? The reason why it's actually pretty normal is the inner child sits within the sacral chakra in the chakra system, and the element of the sacral chakra is water. So if you cry, it's very normal. It's very emotional. It's often where we store our emotions. It's where we lock them. It's where we hide them. It's where we keep them down. And so, often when you can have hip problems, hip stiffness, my hips are stiff, and I'm like, okay, let me see what's going on physically, but also let me look at what's going on energetically. And I can tell when I'm being a real stiff, and it's like, come on, man, just loosen up, just free up. So often if I'm like waiting for my coffee, I'm like sinking into my hips and moving my hips and just swaying them, just to get some mobility and movement and freedom back into them. So very normal especially if you go to yoga and you do a yin yoga class and you're in pigeon, often you might find yourself tearful in that because you are actually opening up your hips, which encompasses the sacral chakra. This drop of Kate, this was a beautiful reminder to take care with how I speak to my own children. Yeah, I know. And also too, if you have husbands or partners or wives, they have inner children. They have an inner child. You know, sometimes I can be really harsh on Steve. I can have cracks at him about his tummy. You know, and I'm like, how's your eating habits going? I can get really judgmental. And one time he turned around and said to me, he said, hey, I got to deal with my own thoughts about this. I don't need yours too. And when he turned around and said that, I was like, oh my God, all I'm doing is like hurting the little boy within him. Makes me want to cry now. All I'm doing is hurting this little boy inside of him. I don't want to do that. How can I build him up? How can I encourage him? Maybe even just give him space. What can I do for that? So yes, remember, you've got children who also have like their own inner children inside them, but you also have partners that have inner children too, and parents as well. And often when you see if your parents have got shit relationships, or if they're not relating well to themselves, like they've lost connection to that. They've lost connection to that part of themselves. Steph, I'm going through a breakup and now in lockdown on my own. Are there ways that I can connect to my inner child to help me get through this time? Oh, this is a massive time for you then, Steph. Like, wow. Oh, please DM me after and I will email you ways that you can begin connecting in to your inner child. I'm going to say to you, this is the most precious time that you have. When my boyfriend and I broke up of 6 years and I was single and I was alone, granted there was no lockdown, but I was forced to like face myself and connect to myself because I always wanted a relationship after relationship. That's also inner child work too. When you're like, ooh, I don't want to be alone. I don't want to be alone. I don't want to be alone. You know, have this difficulty being by yourself. But yes, you absolutely can. You can reconnect to your inner child by speaking to her and saying, fuck, okay, haven't met you or haven't like talked to you for a really long time. What do you like to do? What makes you happy? What brings you joy? What are the things that I am doing that make you sad? There are some really powerful self-inquiry questions that you can play imaginary games with and talk to your inner child that way, and you're developing this connection to your inner child, which again is just developing your relationship with yourself, so you can see, fuck, this is what actually brings me joy, this is what makes me happy. Maybe it's the simplest things in the fucking planet. This is what I'm doing that makes me actually feel quite sad or disconnected from myself. So please hit me up after and I can shoot you through some questions that you can write down, do some self-inquiry with some music. I think music is really emotive. It brings emotions out. And I believe that that's a powerful healing tool to let your emotions out rather than like squash them in. Inner child work is also dancing. So the energy of the inner child is flow, is ease. It's just, it goes with the flow, right? The water, it goes with the flow. The element of the sacral chakra is flow, is water, so it's flow. So dancing to music, you know, my inner child playlist is like music like My Girl. There's other ones in there, and again, I can send them to you too. I just can't think of them on the top of my head. And I will just dance in my room, listening to that. The other day I played My Girl, and I imagined my little inner child there, and we're like, dum dum dum, dum dum dum, dum dum dum, and I imagined dancing with her. Brought joy, brought connection. So there are many, many things that you can do, my friend. I hope you are okay, and also know that this is a really beautiful time that you can go within. Might be hard, but you can go within. Sophia, what's your best relationship advice? Fuck. My best relationship advice is, if you are in a relationship, you got to know what your end result of the relationship is. The reason why Steve and I have such a great relationship is we have activated our inner child. We're fun, we're playful, we're cheeky, we dance, we talk in weird languages, we make up languages. So our inner childs are actually alive. Are they all the time? No. But what helps us is that we have a vision and a feeling and an energy of what the end result of our true relationship is. And that's kind, it's caring, it's considerate, it's respectful. So whenever I'm having digs to him about his gut, I know I'm not in alignment with the true end result. I'm just being a bitch. I'm being judgmental. Now, there are times where I will pull him up when I'm like, hey, you're being really unhealthy right now. Just remember, take care of yourself to help him stay true to his end result. But whenever I'm just being judgmental and a bitch, I know I'm not serving us. And so what helps with that, Sophia, is that when we know the true end result, which is this fun, loving, beautiful, wonderful relationship, whenever I am acting or we are acting like grumpy sacks of shit, or we're not being nice, or we're being overpowering or overbearing to one another, we can remind each other and we can remind ourselves, actually, fuck, this is what we're going for. And the way that I'm acting right now is not getting me any closer to this. And I want this. We want this. We want to be connected. We want to be fun. We want to be enjoying our time together. So the best relationship advice that I give myself is, what do you really want to make matter, Kat? You want to make matter this beautiful, true end result. So then it makes me look at whatever I'm focusing on in that moment and going, how fucking important is this? How important is this? How much does this matter in the grand scheme of things? Sometimes it does matter. Most of the time, it fucking doesn't, because it's petty. It's petty shit. So that then gets us out of our I hate you vibe very quickly. We don't hold grudges for longer than, I'd say, half a day would be the longest, which feels like an eternity, because we can't be fucked with that anymore. We can only be fucked with this. That's what my best relationship advice would be, because then you just stop fighting that bullshit stuff. Jenny Brady, that was wonderful. Always seems to hit the spot. I am so glad. Mwah. Evie, I wanted my inner child to hold my hand during this meditation, so I clasped my own hand and it was comforting. That's what I can do physically. Oh, yes. I love that. Yes, absolutely. You can clasp your own hand. You could sway a little and you're like, yeah, there's my little inner child. They're here right now. You might have someone wrote about their teddy bear that's on their side table. You might have that teddy bear there and you're like, okay, thank you. Thank you for reminding me of my joy and my innocence and this pleasure that I want to let out of me, and this expression that I want to let out of me, and this freedom that I want to let out of me. Does it happen overnight? No, it's a thing that you got to keep doing and practicing and remembering and forgetting, and then remembering and forgetting, So it does not happen overnight, but it will happen. What that was at, L'Oreal? Can't remember. Zozo, I have been single for 3 years, and in that time I have got in touch with my inner child. I'm loving it and feeling alive again. Can you hear that? Can you hear that or read that? I'm feeling alive again. One thing I'm struggling with is opening myself up to a new relationship. Okay, fantastic. So often what takes place is there's 3 levels of dependency. There's dependency, independency, and then interdependence, right? Now, when we're little, we are dependent upon our parents. We're dependent upon someone, please guide me through life because I don't know what to do. Tell me where to go. We look to our parents, we look to our siblings, we look to our teachers, we look to our guides, whoever they are for that time. We are dependent. And then when we start getting into our older years, that dependency can not be so good. We can be super needy. We can be clingy. And so then relationships can turn toxic, or relationships can turn toxic. What was the other word I was going to use? Can't remember. Or yeah, people may just want to push you away. They're like, ugh, I don't fucking want that clinginess. So dependency, it generally has an expiry date, but when we go beyond the expiry date, that's when relationships can turn toxic, or you can find that you will constantly chase relationships that then end up breaking up because you're too needy and the other person doesn't want that. So then what takes place is what I guess I'm sensing with you, Zozo, is that you have shifted to becoming independent. And I went through this too. I went through this as well, where I was so needy. I'm like, someone please just marry me because I don't want to be alone. I was so dependent on an outside source to bring me joy, or to bring me love, or to bring me contentment, whatever it may be. So then what takes place is you move to an independent state. You're like, actually, no, I want to find myself. I want to be myself. I want to be my true self. And you find joy in that. You come back to life in that, right? So now what I'm sensing with you, Zozo, is that, forgive me if your name's not Zozo either. That might be weird, but it's just what it says there on your thing. What your heart is now calling for, or even think of your inner child. Your inner child's like, okay, I want to play with someone now. I want to play with myself as this independent little child. I've learned my lessons. I'm feeling good. Now I want to play with someone. So now what's happening is that independency has shifted to more of a fierce independence, right? Where it's this fear of, I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to lose myself. What if I get in a relationship and then I lose all of this aliveness? What if I lose my voice? What if I lose my expression? What if I lose the things that bring me joy and I start morphing into the relationship? Or, there's this like fear of getting hurt, right? Now that is the ego. That is the ego. That's your inner child would be so busting to share its beautiful self with another playmate, soulmate, whatever you want to call it. So the third stage is interdependency, where you know who you are. You know who you are. You know what you love. You know your values. You know your morals. You know what's right from wrong for you. You know what you stand for. You know what you don't stand for. And you are willing to bring that forward and call in someone who is also interdependent. They have their independence, but are willing to share that, right? Now, you would do your inner child an injustice if you were like, I've reclaimed myself and her, now we cannot share that. That's the same thing of holding them back. So we can either lock them out of our lives, or we can hold them too tight. So where you might want to chat to your inner child and say, what advice would you have? Are you scared to meet someone new? Are you excited to meet someone new? How would you feel about bringing in someone new? What advice would you give to when I meet someone new? And your little inner child may say, just keep dancing with me every day. Just make sure we do the things that nurture us and nourish us and fulfill us, right? So check in with yourself. Check in with yourself and then be fucking brave, right? Funnily enough, the next chakra up from the inner child is your solar plexus, which is about leadership and really coming out as yourself and knowing your boundaries and knowing where you sit and where you don't sit. So by activating yourself and opening yourself up, you're actually activating that next part of you that will hold yourself true to what your inner child's needs and wants and desires are. And then also the chakra above that is your heart, which is then you opening up to love. But if you've got you, I hear what you're saying, if you've worked so hard to reclaim you, you're like, I don't want anyone to fuck with this. Only you can allow yourself to let that fuck with you, right? So let it out, baby. Let it out. If you're feeling the pull, if you're feeling the vibe, let it out. But have a chat to your little inner child before that. Sophia, I love that relationship advice by knowing what you want in a relationship. Yes, thank you so much. I told my boyfriend straight away, yeah, fucking go you and your boyfriend. Okay, are we signed, still delivered? That seemed like a good topic and you were interested and that has brought up. So awesome. No other questions or any other questions? I'm just going to take a sip of my now cold decaf coconut latte because I've talked too much. No other questions? Signed, sealed, delivered. I'm yours. Fantastic. That was awesome. Thank you for your contribution. I love it when you ask questions. I love it when you ask questions. It just activates this wealth of inside of me. Sophia, what coaching courses did you have or do I have? Do I have? If you're asking what do I have, I've got a 6-month coaching program. So that works out to be 12 sessions over 6 months. So that's basically me seeing you twice a month. There's 3 options that you can take. There's the big kit and caboodle where you do the 6-month coaching program, which also includes my 2 live in-person trainings whenever we can do them thanks to COVID. And then there's also another option where if you don't want to do those 2 programs, or if you're interstate or overseas, then you can just do one-on-one coaching with me, which is the 6 months, 12 sessions. And I take you through a pretty sick structure to save your fucks for what matters to you, how to manage your ego, how to bring more of you to life. It's pretty epic. Feel free to hit us up. Okay, my legends, I love you lots. I'll see you next Sunday. Bailey was so good today. Look at him, he's tuck it out. He went for a 10K walk, that's why. Hey, oh, he's such an angel. Sorry, Facebook peeps, here he is. There's my angel boy. Love you, gang. Take care, enjoy yourselves, and I'll see you next Sunday. Peace be with you.